A girl named Makoto Kono appears playing baseball with her friends, but she hears a strange sound, and she continues to play, but the sound is still there, and soon she hears a voice calling her sister. Then a device falls on her face from the sky. She wakes up and it turns out that the alarm clock fell on her while she's sleeping. She gets up in a hurry and drinks milk and goes out, but her mom stops her and gives her a bag to give it to the witch. She takes her bicycle and runs out. Then she gets to school at the last minute. After that, the teacher comes and announces that he's going to have a surprise test. The test begins, and the teacher announces that there are 5 minutes left, and then the teacher looks at her paper and it turns out that she did not write anything, and in mechanical works, such as cooking, it appears that she was not good as well, and by mistake she causes the stew to burn. After that, there were boys playing and they accidentally knock Makoto to the ground. After that, her 2 friends, Chiaki and Kosuke, appear in the school playground. Then her examination result appears and seems to have got a bad mark, and she picks up the notes and takes them upstairs. While she was there, she reads a phrase on the board that says, "Time waits for no one." At this moment she hears a sound inside the room. She enters the room to find out the source of this sound. Then she finds a small ball on the ground, but at this moment she hears a sound of someone inside the room. Then she falls on the ball, and while she falling she sees very strange vision, and then she continues to falling on the ground. In the next scene, she and her friends are coming back from school and Chiaki is laughing because she told them what happened to her. Then they go to play baseball. After that she leaves them and goes. On the way she is about to bump into a woman with a child, but she turns away from them. And then the brakes fail, and the train on his way to run over her. She hits the barrier and falls off the bike, and the train hits her, but the time stops and goes back, and she finds herself colliding with the woman who just passed. She apologizes to the woman for what happened, and she was surprised. Then she looks at the train and it seems that now it has crossed. In the next scene appears a woman who is drawing, and she is called Kazuko, and she is Makoto's charming aunt. She reaches her, and Kazuko has told her that what happened with her is a leap through time, meaning that she travels back in time, and she tells her that it happens to a large number of girls at her age, and that happened to Kazuko before. Makoto thinks about what happened, and then she throws herself from the bed, but the time does not stop again. Her sister Miyuki enters her room, and finds that Makoto is trying to throw herself from the window, and she prevents her from doing this. After that Makoto goes to the sea, and she throws herself in it, which leads to time stopping and then going backwards, and Makoto watches the vision that happened to her before, and she finds himself falling and returning to the house. And she finds that her juice box that her sister drank it before is in the fridge. Then her family comes home, and she hears that her sister wants to drink her juice, but she tells them that she won't allow it. In this moment they turn and they didn't even see her. Then the time goes back to what Makoto was in the sea, and she hear the boy say that she jumped, disappeared for a moment, and then appeared again. She comes home, and then opens the fridge and sees her juice is there, and realizes that she went back in time. Then she goes to school and gives the test, and the cooking is burned by someone else, not by her, because she switched with him. Then she gets the full mark in the test, and avoids the person who was going to hit her. After that, she goes with her friends to a place for sing, and they tell them that their time is up. Then Makoto decides to jump and stumble to turn back time and sing again, and she succeeds. And she repeats this process several times, so that the time for singing does not end. She wakes up in the morning and her voice is very quiet, and says that she sang for about 10 hours, and her mother has cooked chicken stew for dinner, but she does not like this recipe, and she decides to go back in time by stumbling to eat the teppanyaki that she loves. After that, she plays with her friends, and back in time where she anticipates all their shoots and wins. Then she goes to her aunt and tells her what happened, and the aunt says that she should use this ability for important things. Then she goes with her friends to the playground, and their friend Kosuke tells them that a first-year student confessed that she liked him, but he refused to date with her. Then Makoto rides a bike with Chiaki, and on the way, he asks Makoto to go out with him, but she was very surprised and asks him to stop, but when he stops she goes back in time. She tries to prevent him from dating her again, but she fails, so she goes back in time again. This time she tries to change the conversation with him, so that he does not date her, but he asks her to go out again. Then she goes back in time and decides not to ride a bike with him, and she go for a walk. Then she goes to her aunt, and her aunt asks her why she refused to date him even though she likes him. Makoto says she can't imagine him as more than a friend. Makoto and her friend Yuri are in the school garden, and Yuri asks her about Chiaki email, but she refuses, and then they find Takase, the person who caused the cooking fire. Some people in the school take revenge on him for what happened, and then Chiaki tries to get close to Makoto, but she gets angry from him. Takase called Makoto stupid because she switched with him and caused what happened to him. this causing Chiaki to get angry and to throw his shoes at his face. Then Chiaki and Yuri talk to each other, and with the passage of time, Makoto keeps trying to avoid contact with Chiaki. Then he sends a message to Makoto, and tells her that something good has happened. She replies to him and asks about this thing, but he does not reply. At school she sees Chiaki with a girl, then she watched Takase take revenge on the people who sprayed him with water, and she orders him to stop. But he decided to take revenge on her as well, and throws the fire extinguisher on her, but Chiaki stands in front to protect her, but she goes back in time to save him and pushes him away, but the extinguisher bumps into Yuri. Then the nurse rescues her. At this moment Chiaki enters and meets Makoto, but he doesn't talk to her and then checks on Yuri. In the next scene, the three friends are playing baseball as usual. Meanwhile Chiaki confesses that he is going to date Yuri tonight. Makoto seems to be jealous of that. After that, she is taking a shower and watches the number 90 on her hand. After a while she looks at her hand and sees the number is turned to 50. Then a girl appears, calls Kaho, and says she loves Kosuke, and she is the girl who told him that, but he rejected her. Makoto decides to help her, and goes back in time to the moment he rejected her. She tries the first time to fix it but fails, so she goes back in time again, but also fails. But this time she goes back in time a lot unintentionally. Then she takes Kosuke, and makes him trip and falls on Kaho. Then Kosuke helps and hold her. Makoto feels happy, but then she looks at her hand and sees number 1. Makoto returns to the first room she stumbled into, and soon someone enters, and it appears that this person is Yuri. Then she apologizes to her. After that, she receives a message from Kosuke, telling her that he will borrow her bike. At this moment Makoto runs to follow him, because she thinks he will has an accident like what happened with her, but she reaches the place and no accident has happened. Her phone rings, and that was Chiaki, and she tells that she loves to play baseball with him, but he asks her, "Are you time traveler?" But she does not answer him and goes back in time, then stops him from asking. After that, she looks at her hand and sees the number 0, meaning that she can no longer travel through time, and at this moment Kosuke and Yuri pass her while they are on the bike. She runs quickly to stop them, but she falls and stumbles. Kosuke and Yuri hit the barrier and fall off the bike. In the meantime Makoto screams for time to stop and it actually stops, and while time is stopping, Chiaki appears, and he can move when the time is stopping, and tells her that Kosuke is in his house. Then she realizes that what happened was arranged by him, and then he tells her that he came from the future, and Makoto is surprised by his words. And he tells her that in his time they developed a device that is able to go back in time, and he show her the ball that she found in the room, and this ball is the device he is talking about. Then told her that he used it but lost it in the room, but the device was completely exhausted. Then he destroyed it, and his travel through time was to see the white plum blossom painting, because it was damaged in his era. He tells her that he used his last chance to go back in time to save Kosuke, and that he can no longer go back in time, but he will disappear tomorrow, so that people will not know about the feature of going back in time. Then he disappears, and the time returns to normal. Makoto returns to school but does not find him. She tells Kosuke that she is a horrible person, and runs to the roof of the school while she crying. When she was in the house, she sees her hand, and the number 1 appears. That means she can go back in time for once. She runs out and throws herself, and goes back to the moment she found the ball, and tells Yuri that she loves Chiaki. Then she goes to Kosuke and asks him to invite the girl who loves him. Then she runs to the playground. When she arrives she finds Chiaki there, and she shows him the ball, and tells him that he told her everything. Then they go to the sea, and she tells him that the painting will not burn, and he can see it in the future, because she will take care of it. Then he goes and Makoto starts crying, but he comes back and hugs her, and says he is waiting for her in the future. Then Makoto appears at the playground with Kosuke and Kaho and her 2 friends, and the movie ends here. Thank you for watching. If you have an anime series or movie that you want me to make a video about it, please tell me in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.